The hiss of the quench tank is the first sound I hear every morning, and the last one I hear at night. It's the sound of purpose. Even at 74, with my son Julian running the front office, I can't stay away from the fire. The heat keeps my bones from seizing up. "You're going to melt your boots, Dad," Julian calls from across the shop floor. I grunt, pulling the glowing steel from the forge. The smell of hot metal and coal dust is the only air I've ever really wanted to breathe. These boots have seen worse. I lay the steel on the anvil. The first strike of the hammer rings true, a high, clear note that vibrates right up my arm. Thwack. The metal submits. Thwack. It takes shape. This is Donovan Fabrication. It was Walker's Crest Smithy when I first walked in here, but it's my name on the sign now. "Mrs. Gable is on line 1 about her garden gate," Julian says, holding up a phone. "Tell her art takes time," I say, not looking up. Thwack. I told her that last week. She says the art is letting her dog out. I pause, wiping sweat from my forehead with a leather-gloved forearm. "Fine. Tell her Friday. But I'm not rushing the scroll work." Julian laughs and disappears back into the office. He's a good man, a good son. He understands the numbers, the computers, the logistics, but I understand the steel. I'm semi-retired, they say. But the forge doesn't know what semi means. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. I was 15 when I first felt that heat. My father, a man who only understood cotton and soil, had dragged me to Mr. Frederick Patton's shop to fix a broken plowshare. I stood in the doorway, terrified and fascinated. Mr. Patton was a bear of a man, with arms like oak boughs. Sparks flew around him like angry fireflies as his hammer fell. "Stop gawking and come in, boy," he'd boomed. I spent that whole afternoon watching him. He didn't just fix the plow, he reformed it. He made it better. When it was done, I hadn't moved. "How'd you know how to hit it?" I asked. Mr. Patton had plunged the steel into the slack tub, a cloud of steam enveloping his head. He turned, his face grim. "You got to understand," he said, tapping a red-hot bar with his tongs. "Steel has temperament, just like people. You can't force it. You got to know when it's ready to bend." I never left. I was 19 when Mr. Patton collapsed at the anvil. 1 second he was shaping a railroad tie. The next, he was on the ground. The hammer fell from his hand with a dull clang. I lost my mentor and my second father in the same instant. A week after the funeral, his widow, Mrs. Harriet, called me to the house. She was a frail woman, swallowed by her grief and a floral print armchair. "He wanted you to have it, Elias," she said, her voice a whisper. "He said you were the only one who listened to the steel." She offered to sell me the shop, payments, whatever I could manage. "I can't," I told her. "I'm 19. I don't know anything about running a business. Frederick said you knew everything that mattered." I walked back to the smithy that day, the keys heavy in my pocket. I stood in the cold, dark shop. I was terrified, but I couldn't let his legacy rust. I lit the forge, and the fire hasn't gone out since. I was 21 when she walked in. The front bell chimed, a sound I usually ignored, but this time it was different. She was holding the small brass bell from the schoolhouse. "Excuse me?" she said. She was from the city. You could tell by her dress, by the way she wasn't covered in dust. "They told me you could fix anything." She was Genevieve Marlowe, the new teacher. She was educated. She talked about books I'd never heard of and places I'd never see. I was a welder, with grease under my nails and a fourth-grade education. "It's cracked," she said, holding up the bell. I took it from her. Her hands were soft. "Brass is finicky," I said, trying to sound like I knew what I was doing. "It'll need a gentle heat." When she came back to pick it up, I had it polished. It rang with a clear, bright tone. "It's beautiful," she breathed. I get coffee over at the diner sometimes, after work." She smiled. "I like coffee. That's how it started." Our courtship was simple. Coffee at the diner, walks by the creek. Her parents in Montgomery didn't approve. Their educated daughter marrying a small-town smithy? But Genevieve was determined. We married a year later. We bought a patch of land just outside of town. I laid the foundation myself, after long days at the forge. She was out there with me, hammering nails until her hands blistered. We built that house, beam by beam. Then came Julian, a strong boy, with her eyes and my stubbornness. 4 years later, Zara arrived. She was her mother's shadow from the moment she could walk. Our life wasn't easy. It was work. Hard work. I'd come home smelling of metal and sweat, and she'd smell of chalk dust and old paper. We were tired, but we were building something. The years hammered us into shape. The shop grew. I hired 2 men, then 5. Walker's Crest was growing, and everyone needed something made of steel. Julian, to my surprise, didn't hate the shop, but he didn't love the fire. He loved the idea of it. "Dad, I want to study engineering," he told me when he was 18. "I want to make the business bigger." He went off to college in Montgomery and came back 4 years later with a degree and a briefcase. He brought in computers, CNC machines, and words like logistics and scalability. I just wanted to hit things with a hammer. He pointed to the old, faded sign. "Walker's Crest Smithy? Dad, that's not what we are anymore." The next week, a new sign went up. Donovan Fabrication and Son. It made me proud, and it made me feel old. Zara followed her mother's path. She got her degree and came right back to Walker's Crest Elementary, teaching in the same classroom Genevieve had. She was a natural. Julian married Naomi, a smart woman who worked at the bank. They gave us Kyle and Iris, my grandchildren, 2 perfect, noisy, wonderful little beings. Zara married Adrian, another teacher. Our life was full. It was complete. Sundays were chaos, barbecues in the backyard, the kids running wild, the smell of charcoal and cut grass. Genevieve, the matriarch, directing traffic from the porch, a glass of sweet tea in her hand. We had built it all. The house, the business, the family. It was strong. It was permanent. I thought it was, anyway. Genevieve retired first. The school threw her a huge party. She'd been a teacher, then principal, for over 40 years. The whole town, it seemed, had been one of her students. "What are you going to do now?" I asked her as we sat on the porch that night. The party was over. The house was quiet. "I'm going to read all the books I never had time for," she said, leaning her head on my shoulder. "And I'm going to plant a garden." I handed the daily operations of Donovan Fabrication to Julian. I still went in. I had to. The forge was in my blood, but I wasn't in charge. Our life settled. It was quiet, predictable. We had coffee on the porch every morning. We had dinner at 5. We watched the news. We went to bed. It was the life we had earned. Retirement, it turned out, didn't suit Genevieve as well as she'd thought. Reading and gardening lasted about 3 months. "I need to do something, Elias," she announced one dinner. "I feel like my mind is turning to mush." Soon, Her calendar was full. Tuesdays were the knitting circle. Wednesdays were the book club. Thursdays, she volunteered at the church, sorting donations. Good for you, I told her. It's good to stay busy. She'd come home from these meetings energized, full of stories about the other women, the books they were reading, the gossip from the church. She seemed lighter, happier than she had been in years. I was happy for her. She deserved it. After 40 years of raising kids, first ours, then the town's, she deserved to have time for herself. I was at the hardware store picking up some linseed oil when I ran into Martha Gable. Her garden gate was finally installed, and she was happy. I saw Genevieve at the diner yesterday, Martha said, picking through a bin of bolts. She looked lovely, that new blue sweater. Oh, she enjoys that book club, I said, smiling. She always comes home talking a mile a minute. Martha stopped sorting and looked up at me, her brow furrowed. The book club? Elias, that was canceled. Brenda's mother passed. We're not meeting again until next month. I felt a small, cold prickle in my stomach. Oh. I must have misheard her. She was probably just meeting friends for lunch, Martha said, turning back to the bolts. That night, I waited. Genevieve came home, humming. How was the book club, honey? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. She kicked off her shoes. Oh, it was wonderful. We're reading a new author. So insightful. We had such a spirited debate. I just nodded, the cold prickle turning into a knot. That's nice. Then came the phone. She'd had a simple flip phone for years, barely used it. Suddenly, she had a new smartphone, one of those big, sleek glass ones, and she was never without it. It sat by her plate at dinner. It was in her robe pocket when she made coffee. It went into the bathroom with her when she took a shower. I woke up one night around 2 a.m. The bed beside me was empty. I felt a flicker of panic, then heard a faint tapping. I walked out to the kitchen. The only light was the blue-white glow of the phone screen, illuminating Genevieve's face. She was sitting at the table, tapping away, a small smile on her lips. Jen? She jumped, nearly dropping the phone. She fumbled with it, hitting the power button, plunging the room into darkness. Elias, you scared the life out of me. Who are you talking to? It's 2 a.m. It's just Zara, she said, her voice a little too high. She's having trouble sleeping. Insomnia. We were just chatting. I stood there in the dark. At 2 a.m., she has to teach in the morning. Well, you know Zara. She gets things on her mind. Go back to bed, honey. I'll be right there. The next day, I stopped by the school to drop off a small desk latch Zara had asked me to fix. How's your sleep, sweetheart? I asked her. She looked confused. My sleep? It's fine, Daddy. Why? Your mother said you were up late last night texting her. Insomnia. Zara's confusion deepened. What? No. I was dead to the world by 10. Mom must be mixed up. Yeah, I said, the knot in my stomach tightening. Mixed up. A week later, Genevieve made a new announcement. I've signed up for a class, Elias. A computer class for seniors. It's in Montgomery. Montgomery? That's a 2-hour drive each way. It's only twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. I need to keep my mind sharp. I don't want to be one of those old women who doesn't know how to use the internet. It seemed reasonable. It sounded responsible. I can drive you to the bus station, I offered. Oh, you don't have to do that. It's just a few blocks. The walk will do me good. So every Tuesday and Thursday, she'd get dressed up, not in her usual slacks, but in nice dresses. New ones, I noticed. It's a class, Jen, not a cotillion, I joked once. It's in the city, Elias. People dress better there. I don't want to look like a country bumpkin. She'd come home late, tired, but buzzing. You wouldn't believe what you can do. Email, spreadsheets. I'm learning so much. But she never turned on the computer we had in the study. Not once. I was cleaning out her car, getting ready to take it for an oil change. I was vacuuming under the passenger seat when my fingers brushed against a piece of paper. I pulled it out. It was a receipt. It wasn't from a community college. It was from La Felice, an expensive-looking Italian restaurant in Montgomery. The logo was two gold-leaf swans. The date was from last Thursday. Class day. The total made my breath catch. It was for 2 entrees, appetizers, and a bottle of wine. A very expensive bottle of wine. I stood there in the garage, the vacuum humming, the receipt trembling in my hand. This wasn't a computer class. I folded the paper and slipped it into my wallet. My first instinct was to confront her, to throw it in her face. But the memory of her lie about the book club stopped me. I needed to be smart. I said nothing. I hid the receipt in the back of my desk drawer, under a pile of old invoices. I would wait. I would find the right moment. I couldn't wait. The secret was burning a hole in my gut. That night at dinner, I tried to be calm. So, how was the class today, Jen? Oh, fine. We learned about, photo editing. Very interesting. My hand was shaking. That's good. Did you all go out for a bite to eat afterward? To celebrate? She looked up from her plate, her eyes narrowing slightly. What do you mean? You know, as a group. Maybe somewhere nice? An Italian place, maybe? The fork clattered onto her plate. Her face, which had been relaxed, hardened. What are you asking me, Elias? I know you've been working so hard. I thought maybe you treated yourselves. I was cleaning your car, she said, her voice dropping to a cold, flat tone. I saw you rooting around in there. What did you find, Elias? An old gum wrapper? A receipt? My blood ran cold. She'd seen me. I found a receipt, I admitted, my voice small. From a restaurant, La Felice. She stood up, her chair scraping loudly on the wooden floor. And you went through my things? You snooped? After 49 years of marriage, you think I'm, what, lying to you? It was $200, Jen, for 2 people. It was a celebration, she shouted. My professor took a few of us out. We finished the first module. My God, Elias, I didn't know I had to get your permission to have dinner with my classmates. She was furious. Her rage was so sudden, so intense, it knocked me off balance. I didn't mean... You think I'm cheating, don't you? She hissed. That's what this is. You, sitting here in this dusty town, you can't imagine me doing anything else. You think I'm some harlot? She was crying now, but they were angry tears. I can't believe you. I can't believe you'd think that of me. She stormed off to the bedroom and slammed the door. I sat there, stunned. Was I wrong? Had I just accused my wife of nearly 50 years of infidelity over a simple dinner? I felt small, ashamed. Later that night, I went to my desk. I pulled open the drawer. The receipt was gone. I confronted her. Where's the receipt, Genevieve? She didn't even look up from her book. I tidied up your desk. It was a mess of old papers. I threw all that junk out. The trash was collected this morning. She turned a page. Are we done with this pathetic little interrogation, Elias? It's beneath you. I had nothing. No proof. And I looked like a paranoid, jealous old fool. After the fight over the receipt, a wall went up. She was polite, cold. She still went to her classes, but she stopped talking about them. Then, a month later, she announced the trips. "My knitting group is organizing a weekend trip," she said, not looking at me. "To Nashville. It's just a ladies' thing." Nashville? That's a long way for knitting. "It's a craft fair, Elias, honestly. You've been cooped up in this shop for so long, you've forgotten how to have fun." So she went. She came back with a new energy, a new scarf she'd supposedly bought, and a strange distance in her eyes. 2 months later, it was Savannah. "For a festival," she said. "Just the women." "You're spending a lot of time with these women, Jen." "They're my friends. Is that a problem? You have your shop. I'm allowed to have a life." Every time she came back, she seemed a little further away. Our conversations became checklists. "Did you pay the electric bill?" "The gutters need cleaning." We were partners running a household, not a husband and wife. The phone rang one afternoon in the shop. It was Walter, an old army buddy I hadn't spoken to in a year. He lived in Montgomery. We caught up, talked about our health, our grandkids, the good old days. "It's good to hear your voice, Elias. You and Genevieve should come down and visit me and Mary." "I'd like that, Walter. Jen's actually in Montgomery a lot these days. She's taking some computer class for seniors over at the community college." There was a pause on the line. "A computer class? For seniors?" Walter said. "Mary runs just about every senior program at that college. She's never mentioned a new computer class. She would have. She knows I can barely turn mine on." The knot was back, tighter than ever. "Oh, maybe it's a different school. I'm not sure of the details. There's only one college that runs those programs, Elias. You sure you got that right?" "I'm sure I'm just mixed up, Walter. Old age." I hung up the phone. My hand was steady, but my insides were shaking. She wasn't at the college. She wasn't in a class. The restaurant receipt, the late-night texts, the secret phone, the trips. It was all a lie. I couldn't keep it in anymore. I trusted my son. I had to. I found Julian in his office, staring at a spreadsheet. "Julian, I need to talk to you. Not as your boss, as your father." I told him everything. The book club, the late-night texts, the phone, the receipt, the fight. I told him about Walter's call. He listened, his face growing paler. "Dad, it's just not possible. It's Mom." "I know who it is. I'm telling you what I know. I think your mother is seeing someone." Julian looked devastated. "No, there's got to be an explanation. She's just finding herself. Retirement is hard." "This isn't finding herself, Julian. This is lying." "Okay," he said, holding up a hand. "Okay. Don't do anything. Don't say anything to her. Let me make a call. I know some people in Montgomery. I have a friend at the Chamber of Commerce. Let me just ask around." Quietly. 2 days later, Julian came to my house. He looked relieved. "Dad, I found out. It's okay. You were half right." "What do you mean?" "She is taking a class. Sort of. It's an informal local history workshop. She's been seen at the city archives." "A history workshop?" She told me computers. "Maybe she thought you'd think it was boring," Julian shrugged. "And my contact, he said she's been seen with a man, a Mr. Harrison. He's a retired history professor. They're apparently working on some project together. Researching." "Harrison?" The name meant nothing to me. "See, Dad? It's just a project. A hobby. You got yourself worked up over a hobby. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to be the paranoid old fool. A hobby. I tried to swallow it, but it didn't sit right. A history project? Why lie about that? Why the secret phone? Why the $200 dinner? I didn't tell Julian. I started my own search. I went to the library and used their computer. I searched for Mr. Harrison, history professor, Montgomery. I found 3. One was dead. One lived in Seattle. The third taught at the university, but he was 35. I searched for Montgomery History Workshop for seniors. Nothing. Local history projects. Nothing. I spent 2 weeks chasing this ghost, this Mr. Harrison. I called the university's history department, pretending to be an old classmate. They'd never heard of him. I called the city archives. They had no record of a workshop. It was a dead end, a complete fabrication. Julian's contact had fed him a line, or Julian had heard what he wanted to hear. This false lead had just cost me 2 weeks. She was still going to her classes. She was still living her lie, and I was no closer to the truth. I was angry, and I felt stupid. I wouldn't be played for a fool again. The call came on a Monday morning. It was my nephew. Uncle Elias, it's Dad. It's Conrad. He's in the hospital in Montgomery. His heart. My brother, Conrad. He wasn't well. He'd had problems for years. How bad is it? It's bad, Uncle Elias. The doctors, they said it's serious. I think you should come. I hung up, my mind reeling. My brother was sick. I had to go. I told Genevieve. Her face was a perfect mask of concern. Oh, Elias, your brother? Of course you must go. Go right away. I'll pack a bag. I'll probably be there a week. I'll leave in the morning. You go, she said, patting my arm. Don't you worry about a thing here. I'll handle everything. Just be with Conrad. She seemed supportive. She seemed strong. She seemed, I realized with a jolt, relieved. I was packing my bag that night, a hollow feeling in my chest. My brother was sick. My wife was a liar. My world was tilting. The phone rang. It was my nephew again. He's stable, he said, his voice bright with relief. I can't believe it. They said he's responding. He's not out of the woods, but he's stable. The doctor said to wait a few days before traveling. No need to rush down here now. I hung up the phone. I looked at the packed suitcase on my bed. A plan formed. A terrible, cold, and necessary plan. I walked into the kitchen, where Julian was having a cup of coffee with his mother. He was there to offer support. That was your cousin, I said, my voice steady. Conrad's, he's stable, they said to wait. Oh, thank the Lord, Genevieve said, clasping her hands. Oh, that's wonderful news. Julian smiled. That's great, Dad. I waited until she went to bed. Julian was about to leave. Walk me out, I said. We stood by his truck in the driveway. The night was quiet. I'm still going, I said. What? Dad? They said he's stable. Wait a few days. I'm not going to the hospital. Julian looked at me, the confusion on his face illuminated by the porch light. I'm leaving in the morning, just like I said. But I'm not going to see Conrad. His face fell as he understood. Dad. No, don't do this. She thinks I'll be gone for a week, Julian. This is my only chance. The Mr. Harrison lead was a bust. I'm done chasing shadows. So what are you going to do? Just catch her? I'm going to find out what's happening to your mother and to my life. He tried to argue, but he saw the look in my eyes. It was the same look I got when a piece of steel wouldn't bend. Just be careful, Dad, he whispered. Whatever you find, just be careful. The next morning, I put my suitcase in the truck. Genevieve stood on the porch, wringing her hands in that perfect show of concern. "You call me the minute you get there, Elias. Let me know how he is." "I will," I said. I kissed her. It was like kissing a stranger. A cold, polite press of lips. "And don't worry about a thing here," she said, a little too brightly. "I've got my class today, but I'll cancel if you need me. I'll be right here." No. You go to your class. It'll keep your mind off things." "You're a good man, Elias." I got in the truck and drove away. I watched her in the rearview mirror, waving from the porch, the perfect picture of a devoted wife. I drove 2 blocks, turned the corner, and went straight to Donovan Fabrication. I parked my truck in the back loading bay, where no one would see it from the street. Julian was waiting for me. He didn't say a word. He just handed me a set of keys. "It's one of the delivery vans. No one will recognize it. It's parked on Elm." I nodded. "Don't tell anyone you saw me, no one." "Dad, I have to, son." I walked the 3 blocks to Elm Street and got into the plain white van, and I waited. I waited for 2 hours. It was the longest 2 hours of my life. I felt like a fool, a spy. What was I doing, hiding in a van, spying on my own wife? Then I saw her. She walked out of our house. She was not dressed for a computer class. She was wearing a beautiful emerald green dress, one I'd never seen before, and heels. Her hair was done. She was carrying a small, stylish overnight bag. She got in her car, backed out of the driveway, and headed for the highway. Not toward the bus station. I followed her. I kept 3 cars back. My heart was a hammer against my ribs. She was a good driver, confident. She drove straight to Montgomery. She didn't stop, didn't hesitate. She knew exactly where she was going. She didn't go to the college. She didn't go to the city archives. She drove to a part of town I didn't recognize, an upscale neighborhood. She pulled into the driveway of a small, elegant hotel, the kind of place that called itself a boutique inn. She parked, grabbed her overnight bag, and walked inside. She was checking in. I parked the van across the street and I watched. I watched for an hour. She didn't come out. I couldn't just sit there. I had to move. I had to do something. I drove the van back to Walker's Crest, my mind a blank roar. I went back to the shop. "What did you find?" Julian asked, his face ashen. "She's at a hotel in Montgomery with an overnight bag." Julian sat down heavily. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to work," I said. I went to the forge. I fired it up. I grabbed a piece of stock and I hammered it. I worked for hours. I hammered until my arms ached and the sweat poured off me. I didn't know what I was making. I was just hitting the steel, releasing the rage. Late in the afternoon, I stopped. I had a plan. I went to the store. I bought a bouquet of her favorite flowers, lilies. I bought a bottle of the good red wine she liked. I was going to surprise her, just like I said. I drove home around 4 o'clock. I parked my own truck in the driveway. I walked in the back door, trying to be quiet. "Grace?" I called out. The house was silent. I put the groceries in the kitchen, the flowers, the wine. I was going to cook for her. A surprise. I walked into the bedroom. The bed was made, but her suitcase, the big one, was gone from the top of the closet. I opened the bathroom cabinet. Her makeup bag was gone. Her best toiletries. Her perfume. This wasn't an overnight trip. This wasn't a class. She had packed for the week. The week she thought I would be in Montgomery. I sat on the couch. I turned on the TV. I didn't see it. 4 o'clock became 5. 5 became 6. The sun started to set. I called her phone, straight to voicemail. "Hey, honey, just checking in. I guess you're at your class. Call me when you get this." 7 o'clock. I called Zara. "Daddy? I thought you were with Uncle Conrad. Is he okay?" "He's stable, honey. I'm still at home. I might go tomorrow. Listen, have you heard from your mother?" "Mom? No, I thought she was at her class. Why?" "No reason. Just checking." 8 o'clock. I was starting to worry. What if something had happened? I called her friends, Martha Gable, Brenda. "Have you seen Genevieve?" "Oh no, Elias," Martha said. Her voice was nervous. "She's at her class, isn't she? In Montgomery?" Yeah, I guess so." They all knew. I could hear it in their voices. They all knew, and they were all lying for her. The whole town. I was alone in a town full of liars. I was frantic. I went to her desk in the study. I pulled open the drawers. What was I looking for? I found her checkbook, and tucked inside it, a small notepad, the kind the bank gives away. I flipped it open. Her neat cursive filled the pages, appointments, phone numbers. I looked at the pages for the last few months. Tuesdays, Thursdays, class. But on some of the dates, there was a name scribbled next to it. Alistair. Who was Alistair? I looked at the ladies' trip to Nashville. Alistair. The trip to Savannah. Alistair. My blood turned to ice. It wasn't Mr. Harrison. It was Alistair. I flipped to the back cover of the notepad. There, written in pencil, was a single phone number. No name, just the number. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely dial. I picked up the kitchen phone. I punched in the numbers. It rang. Once. Twice. On the third ring, a man answered. His voice was deep, confident, cultured. "Hello?" I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up. "Hello?" he said again, impatient. "Who is this?" I slammed the phone down. I stood in the silent kitchen, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. That voice. That wasn't a classmate. That wasn't a teacher. That was the man from the $200 dinner. I called Julian. "I need you to drive me to Montgomery. Now." "Dad, it's 9 o'clock at night. What's wrong?" "Her car is gone. Her suitcase is gone. I found a name." "Alistair." I found a number. I called it. A man answered. "We're going. Now." Julian was at my house in 10 minutes. He didn't argue. He just drove. We got to Montgomery at 11. "What's the plan, Dad?" "We're going to every hotel in this city until we find her." We started with the hotel I'd seen her at. The Boutique Inn. The night manager was a young kid. I showed him the picture of Genevieve I kept in my wallet. "Have you seen this woman?" He glanced at it. "Sorry, sir, no. We're fully booked anyway." He was lying. I could see it. "She might be with a man," I pressed. "Alistair. Tall, gray hair." "Sir, I can't give out guest information." Julian stepped forward. "My mother is missing. She's diabetic. She could be in trouble. Please, just look." The kid sighed. He typed, "No Genevieve Donovan. No Alistair. Sorry." We left. We went to the next hotel. The Marriott, the Hilton, the Holiday Inn. We spent the whole night driving from hotel to hotel. At each one, the same thing. "No, sir, sorry, sir, can't help you." The sun was coming up. We were both exhausted, defeated. "Let's just go home, Dad," Julian said, his voice raw. "We'll hire a private investigator." "One more," I said. "That first one, the inn, he was lying, I know it." We drove back to the Boutique Inn. The night manager was gone. A young woman was at the desk, bright-eyed. I walked up. I was done being polite. I showed her the picture. My wife. I saw her walk in here yesterday afternoon. What room is she in? The girl's eyes widened. She looked at the photo, then at my face. Sir, I really can't. She checked in yesterday, around 2. She had an overnight bag. The girl hesitated. She looked at her computer. I'm sorry, sir. We don't have a Genevieve Donovan registered. I was about to explode. Then Julian spoke, his voice quiet. What was her maiden name, Dad? Marlowe, I said, my voice choked. Genevieve Marlowe. The girl's eyes flickered to the screen. She bit her lip. Is there a Genevieve Marlowe registered? I asked. She nodded, a tiny, terrified movement. She checked in yesterday with a gentleman, she whispered. Room 214. Please, sir, don't get me in trouble. Room 214. You go home, Julian, I said, my voice sounding distant. Dad, I'm not leaving you. Go home. This is not for you to see. Go now. He looked like he was going to cry, but he saw the steel in my eyes. He got in his truck and drove away. I crossed the street. There was a small cafe just opening up. I went in. I ordered a black coffee. I sat in the window booth. I had a clear view of the hotel entrance. I sat there. I didn't drink the coffee. I just watched. Noon came. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. At 3:30 in the afternoon, her car pulled up. Her car. She got out of the passenger side. She was laughing in a way I hadn't heard in years. A full, carefree laugh. She looked young, happy. Then a man got out of the driver's side. Tall, well-dressed, neat gray hair, sharp clothing. He put his arm around her waist. An easy, familiar gesture. She leaned into him. They walked into the hotel together. I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. My legs wouldn't work. That was him. That was Alistair. Part of me wanted to run across the street, to smash the glass door, to drag him out. Part of me wanted to run away, to get in my truck, drive back to Walker's Crest, and pretend I had never seen it. Pretend I was still the paranoid old fool. I sat there. I don't know for how long. An hour, maybe more. The rage was gone. The panic was gone. There was just a cold, heavy emptiness. I had to know. I had to see it through. I got up. I left a $10 bill on the table for the coffee I never touched. And I crossed the street. I walked into the hotel lobby. The same young receptionist was at the desk. She saw me. Her face went pale. She looked like she was going to be sick. I didn't have to say a word. I just looked at her. She nodded, her eyes full of pity. Just a single, slow nod. They were still there. I walked to the stairs. I didn't take the elevator. I needed the time. Each step was a lifetime. 49 years, laying the foundation of our house. The birth of Julian. The birth of Zara. Her hand in mine at Mr. Patton's funeral. Her pride when the Donovan and Son sign went up. Her smile at the breakfast table. Step after step after step. I reached the second floor. I walked down the hall. Room 212, room 213, room 214. I stopped. I stood in front of the door. And I heard her. I heard her laugh again. That same carefree laugh. "Oh, Alistair, you are impossible," she said, her voice giddy. "Alistair." I took a breath. I raised my hand. I knocked. 3 hard raps. The sound echoed in the quiet hallway. The laughter inside stopped. Instantly, silence. I heard footsteps. A whisper. The door opened a few inches. A security latch was on. She peeked through the crack. Her face was flushed, her hair down. She saw me. Her face didn't just fall. It collapsed. The color drained away. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Elias," she finally whispered. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of terror. "Aren't you going to invite me in, Genevieve?" My voice was calm. It didn't even sound like mine. It sounded like a stranger's. She fumbled with the latch. Her hands were shaking. The door swung open. I stepped inside. He was standing by the window. Alistair Bridgeport. Just as I'd seen him. Tall, silver-haired, handsome. He was wearing an expensive-looking blue shirt and dark trousers. He looked confused, mortified. The room was a mess. Clothes thrown over a chair. 2 suitcases open on the floor. An open bottle of wine on the dresser. Genevieve was wearing a silk robe I'd never seen before. "So," I said, looking from her to him, "this is the computer class." Genevieve just stared, her hand over her mouth. I don't understand," Alistair said, taking a step forward, his voice, the voice from the phone. "Grace? Who is this?" "Grace," I repeated. "She goes by Grace now?" "Elias," she finally choked out. What are you doing here?" "Conrad, your brother." "Conrad is fine," I said. "He's stable, I didn't go." Alistair looked completely bewildered. He looked at me, then at Genevieve. "Grace, what is he talking about? Who is this man?" "This," I said, stepping forward, "is Elias Donovan, her husband." Alistair's face went white. He physically recoiled. You're what?" He turned to Genevieve. "What is he talking about?" You told me." He looked back at me, his eyes wide with a dawning, sickening horror. You can't be. You're dead." The room stopped. The air went out of my lungs. What?" Alistair stared at me as if I were a ghost. "You're dead. Grace. Grace told me her husband, Elias, died 2 years ago. A sudden heart attack." I turned. I looked at my wife, the mother of my children, the woman I had slept next to for 49 years. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She was staring at the carpet. What?" I whispered. "Genevieve," I said, my voice shaking, "tell me he's lying." She finally looked up. Her eyes weren't sad. They weren't guilty. They were cold, defiant. "Yes," she said, her voice clear. "I told him you were dead." Alistair sank into a chair. My God, Grace, you said you were a widow." "How?" I asked. "How did I die?" "A heart attack," she said, her voice flat. "I told him you died 2 years ago, on a trip to Savannah, that it was fast, that I was moving on with my life." 2.5 years, Alistair whispered, staring into space. "We met at a state retiree event. She told me she was a widow. We've been together for 2.5 years. All the lies clicked into place. The classes, the trips, the ladies-only weekends. It was all him. It was all Alistair. "You killed me," I said, the words hollow. "You told this man. You told your friends. You told your entire new life that I was dead." "Why?" I roared, the calm finally breaking. "Why, Genevieve? If you were this unhappy, why not just ask for a divorce? Why this monster of a lie?" She laughed, a short, bitter, ugly sound. "A divorce? In Walker's Crest? Be the talk of the town? The old principal running off? Have my friends, our friends, whispering about me, judging me? Have my children hate me?" She stood up, tying the robe tighter. "No, this was easier." Easier? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Yes. This way, I had the best of both worlds." She gestured around the room. "I had this. I had Montgomery. I had Alistair. I had excitement, and culture and a life. I was Grace Marlowe, the respectable, sophisticated widow. Someone new. And what was I? I asked, my voice breaking. What was our life? That, she said, was my other life in Walker's Crest, where I was Mrs. Genevieve Donovan, the good wife, the mother, the grandmother. I had the respect of the community. I had my home. I had my children. I didn't want to lose that. So you just lied. You lied to all of us. To me, to him, to our children. I didn't want to hurt anyone, Elias. I just wanted to be happy. You didn't want to hurt me, I said, taking a step toward her. You erased me. You told this man I was buried in the ground. How is that not hurting me? I never thought you'd find out, she said. And that was the most honest and most brutal thing she'd said all day. I thought you'd just keep going to your shop. I'd have my life here and my life there. Everyone would be happy. I'm done, I said. Alistair looked up, his face a mask of disgust. Grace, how could you? You made me, I met your children. They thought I was just a friend. Get out, Elias, she suddenly snapped. You've ruined everything. Just get out. Ruin. I stared at her. I didn't recognize this person. The woman I married was gone. This cold, calculating stranger was all that was left. I looked at Alistair. She played you too. I looked at her. He was right. I am dead. I turned around. I walked out of the room. I didn't slam the door. I just closed it. I walked down the stairs, through the lobby. The receptionist wouldn't look at me. I walked out into the afternoon sun. I didn't have my truck. Julian was gone. I walked. I just walked. I walked for miles. I ended up at the bus station. I bought a ticket to Walker's Crest. I sat on that bus for 2 hours. I watched the countryside roll by. The fields, the trees. I didn't see any of it. 49 years, a whole life, built on a foundation that I thought was steel, but it was just sand, and the tide had come in. I didn't go home. I couldn't. The bus dropped me off. I walked to Julian's house. Naomi opened the door, her face full of concern. Julian was sitting at the table, his head in his hands. He looked up when I walked in. He didn't have to ask. He saw it on my face. It's true, I said. I moved into their guest room. I sat both my children down the next day, Julian and Zara. I told them everything, the lies, the classes, the trips, the hotel, Alistair. I told them their mother had told her lover that I was dead. Zara didn't believe me. She screamed at me. You're lying. Mom would never. You're just a jealous old man. She drove to Montgomery to find her. She came back 2 days later. She didn't have to say a word. Her eyes were red, hollowed out. She just walked into my arms and sobbed. Genevieve came back to Walker's Crest. She tried to explain, she tried to justify, but the lie was too big, too monstrous. I filed for divorce. At 69 years old, the town, of course, found out. The whispers I'd heard before were a roar now. I was poor Elias, the man whose wife had faked his death. It was humiliating. Alistair Bridgeport sent me a letter, a formal, typewritten apology. He said he was disgusted and horrified by the deception. He had ended all contact with Genevieve. He too had been a fool. The divorce was fast. She didn't fight it. She couldn't. She sold her share of the house to me. She took the money and she left. She moved to Montgomery, bought an apartment. She tried to keep her Grace Marlowe life, but it was built on a lie. She was left with nothing, no husband, no lover, And her children, they still talk to her. She's still their mother, but it's broken. The trust is gone. Our family Sunday barbecues are gone. We're never in the same room. Today, I'm 74. I'm standing at the forge. The fire is hot. Thwack! The hammer falls. I live alone, in the house we built. It's too big, too quiet, but it's mine. Julian runs the business. Donovan Fabrication and Son. He's a good man. Zara still teaches. She brings Kale and Iris over. My grandchildren. They are my joy. They are the steel that doesn't break. Kale, he's 15. He likes the fire. He asks me to teach him. You have to listen to it, I tell him, my hand on his shoulder. Steel has temperament. You have to know when it's ready to bend. I survived. I learned that you can build a life with someone. You can forge a bond for 50 years, but you never, ever truly know what's in their heart. I didn't fail. I wasn't a bad husband. I was just there. Part of the life she wanted to keep, and part of the life she wanted to escape. I'm not poor Elias. I'm Elias Donovan. I'm a smith. I take things that are broken, I put them in the fire, and I make them strong again. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.